What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks. I'm here with some pretty amazing guests, some fellow content creators in Philly. Obviously, huge Sixers fans. That's what we're here for tonight. We're here for the Sixers, and let's dive right in, guys. You can go one by one, kind of introduce yourselves, and then kind of just let everybody know what content you got flowing out, stuff to look forward to. We lost our Sixers; they've fallen, and we're gonna need more content, guys. So let everybody know what you got going on. We can start with you, El Parcero, because I know you got to catch that Union game, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to reintroduce my. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I go by the name of El Parcero Philly. I am the uniter of sports and culture here in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. Man, Scotty has been nothing but an absolute brother here, in especially in these dying times with us Philly sports fans. But now, I do all Philly sports content from the Sixers, the Eagles, the Phillies, the Flyers, and yes, the Philadelphia. And I do all my Union coverage through Philly Sports Network. But now I'm just, with me, it's just I'm part of the young crowd now, man. There's a new generation of Philly sports. We're young. We like some vibes. We like good music. We like to dance, and that's a little bit what I'm about. But obviously, I like to talk some Philly sports. So you guys can find me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everything El Parcero Philly. And I'm excited to talk. I know it's not the circumstances we all wanted, but we have to do it. We got to do it, Scotty.
Exactly. And thank you for joining the show, El Parcero. Even if it's for a short time, I always love having you. Always a good time, my man. Phil, I'll let you go next since you were in here second, my man. If you plug in all your shows, you got so much going on.
I don't have enough going on. I'm always open to more. That's why whenever I get the message from Scotty, I'm like, I'm down. As long as I'm not at work, I'm down, because you can add 100 more shows to my schedule, and I would find a way to make them work. But right now, I got 9 o'clock tonight, Fairway to Heaven, my golf betting and fantasy golf show. We got one of our regular guests, Brian Kirshner. He's a degenerate golf bettor, but the guy hits all the time. So we'll be breaking down this week's tournament, complaining like hell about how much money we lost at the U.S. Open last week. And now at the Sixers, like you said before we went on the show, tonight's the funeral for the Sixers. So that means Wednesday nights on All About the Birds is back to Eagles talk. I mean, you got to go back to Eagles talk. Are we really going to talk Phillies? Only a few people like to talk about, the Union, which we do have on the All About the Birds Network, a Union show now. So we'll have to get you on our Union show for sure.
Phil just say fantasy golf? My man.
Fantasy golf. Let me tell you something. Everybody thinks you only can make money doing fantasy football. Fantasy golf and betting on golf is the best way to make money, and it helps you build your bankroll for football season. It really does. I've picked at least 5 or 6 winners this year. Outright winners, and you get an outright winner at 25 or 30 to 1, big money.
And that's your daily financial advice from Phil.
Yeah. Don't follow my U.S. Open picks, dude. I bombed last week.
That's what I always say.
I bombed.
All right, JD. Of course, you guys know my buddy JD works with me over at DSM Media. Worked with me at Heat Ratio Sports. JD, welcome to the show once again, my man. You want to go ahead and plug everything you're doing? I know you got a lot going on as well, my man.
Yeah, for sure. So appreciate you guys having me on. Everybody I know, everybody just meeting El Parcero, Philly. So welcome.
I'm JD.
So I'm a producer as well as being a host. So I do a lot of like videos, silhouettes, characters, everything. So you name it, I can do it. Main thing is design for the most part and hosting shows. So right now I have a show called UFO. It is on DSM with these guys. It's a Thursday night show. If you catch us live, you can comment, do all that good stuff. I have a show called U3 Sports. It's on my network, which is called Distinctive Drip. It's on YouTube, and that's what two of my brothers, we do that. We just like love, laugh, and I know I'm gonna get my head knocked off this week, so I'm not looking forward to it. And and I just started a rock and roll podcast. It's not my podcast, but I produced the podcast. So be on the lookout for that. It's called The Metal Summit. They've already been established on YouTube, but go to The Metal Summit on YouTube if you're down with Kiss, any of the other bands. Man, they got a lot of good content. And yeah, I'll just be on there being a comic relief because I don't know anything about music.
Hey, sometimes
take it till you make it, man.
You need the moderator there, man,
For sure.
to everything goes. So, welcome to the show, guys. By the way, I will go ahead plug everybody's link in the comments section on Twitter. I'll make sure to plug in everybody's links to all of their shows. So be sure to check out my Twitter. Follow all of these guys, just all great Philly content providers. And as you can see, they cover everything. Golf. I mean, we got the Union. We even got rock and roll down there with JD. Hey. So we're touching everything here in Philly. But El Parcero, I'll start with you, man. Doesn't have to be, anything too crazy. Just kind of your takeaways from this Sixers season. It like we were talking about earlier, it feels almost like a funeral we're gathering for here today. Because our Sixers fell, and they fell flat on their face. Takeaways from the regular season. What did that regular season mean to you? And then kind of, the demise of them in the second round against Atlanta. How did you feel after that, in respect to the regular season?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll put it one word simply. It's failure. I mean, I think beginning of the season, I know Doc was in his first year, but you're considering the pieces that we had in place, the moves that Daryl Morey was able to do to kind of retool this roster to be what it needs to be, get the spacing for Bennett and Joe to just make it again to the second round, another game 7. We've been here. We've done that. Like we're ready for the next level, and these guys just didn't do it. It's very telling what happened in the regular season and what happened into the playoffs. Even Tobias Harris's closing press conference after Sunday's loss. When it comes to the playoffs, it's made for different type of players. You need to be built a certain way in order to go far into these playoffs. And honestly, other than Joel Embiid, and maybe I'll put Tobias Harris in there, I don't feel like anyone else on this roster really, that was healthy, was able to get those players to where they needed to go. Seth Curry, to me, is a great role player. He was great in the moments that he showed up in, but he is who he is, right? We miss Danny Green. That definitely did hurt us. That veteran leadership, that the ability to add some spacing onto the court was definitely missed as well. But this team, they're gonna have to take a deep dive into themselves. I mean, Joel Embiid, as much as we love him, as great as he is, 8 turnovers in 2 of the important games of the series. Come on, like that's stuff that can't happen. The hero ball cannot happen. It's just unfortunate, but we need to find those guys that are just absolute killers. I mean, Trae Young walked into Madison Square Garden and walked into the Wells Fargo Center like it was absolutely nothing. Both New York and both Philly gave him everything in the stands. Both teams gave him everything defensively. And these were 2 of the top defensive teams in the NBA in the regular season. And Trae Young said, I got this, right? And he stepped up in the important moments. He was 5 of 19 going into the fourth quarter, whatever that was. He made important shots. That's really what mattered. Kevin Huerter, the Maryland kid. Like, what? He's dropping 27 on us, and he's so clutch. So on the free throws, like it was like absolute nothing. So for me, like it's a mentality thing with the Sixers. And of course, Ben Simmons. Everyone wants to trade him. Everyone wants to trade him for a bag of peanuts. And I understand the frustration everyone feels about Ben Simmons. But Scotty, I don't know if we can get some value for Ben. I really can't tell you, say, like, listen, we can go out and get ourselves a Damian Lillard, some sort of package for Ben Simmons. I don't believe that. So I think right now the best case scenario, because I don't get excited about thinking getting CJ McCollum or a D'Angelo Russell in return here in some sort of a trade. So I think we're stuck with Ben, and I don't trust that. And watching the Summer League tape today, it killed me, man. It killed me.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how those videos start flowing out again. As soon as we get kicked from the playoffs, we start seeing all these shoot around and these like pickup game basketball, shots from Ben Simmons. The videos just start floating around again. I'm with you. I obviously mentioned it on Twitter earlier. I think I was, speaking out of overreaction, yesterday. You don't just get rid of Ben Simmons to get rid of Ben Simmons. Like it's not going to work like that. I would, if there's superstars on the table, I would put together packages that would include Ben Simmons. I'm not on that front either anymore. As far as, totally against trading him. But I'm with you, El Parcer. We don't know what his market value is. We don't. And until we find out, even the other, stars around the league that are going to be available this offseason. We don't know who's staying where. We don't know who's going, who's going to demand a trade, who's going to want out. So a lot of that will play into, the Ben Simmons, market. And part of that is Damian Lillard. If he demands out of Portland, then sure, that gives you a little bit of leverage, but then that also puts Damian Lillard at the top of everyone's target list and puts Ben Simmons further down, right? So there's a conundrum involved with all of it. It's a mess right now, and it's sad that we're even having to talk about this.
Yeah. Even if you're talking about disgruntled player Damian Lillard that wants to get out, I mean, just look at the James Harden move. I mean, getting Brooklyn had to give up Harris and Jared Allen, I believe that was the only, and maybe a couple picks. I mean, I don't know if we have that right now, and I don't know if I'm willing to part ways with Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle. Like, if I'm losing Ben Simmons, I think I want to keep Matisse Thybulle for that defense, and you don't want to get rid of all. So it's already sports mental. I have the game right here. Yeah, it's Phil was mentioning about the Phillies, and it's one of those nights right now. Long night.
Always, man. So Phil. And El Parcero, if you got to run.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do have to run, but seriously, JD and also Phil, it was a pleasure meeting you guys. I'm sure we're going to keep doing more stuff like this. If you guys do want to check it out, if anyone has thought about it, the thought has come in their head about becoming a 5 for 5 Philly sports fan. Duke by the River is your home for all the new Union fans. You can find that at any Philly Sports Network platform. But seriously, it was great meeting you, Scotty. We'll catch up, my man, all right?
Of course, my brother. Have a good one.
And always trust the process.
Go Union.
See you guys.
Bro. Peace. All right, Phil. So I will go ahead and toss the same question to you. Just takeaways from the regular season. I know failure as far as the postseason, but if you kind of want to digress on it a little.
El Parcero pretty much said everything I needed to say. I mean, he put it into such eloquent words there and all. But we said before we came on the air, it's like we're going to a funeral here today, right? So I think that actually is a great way to sum up how I'm feeling. It's like the stages of grief when someone passes away. First I was pissed off, frustrated. Then I was pissed off. Then I was disappointed. And then I came to the term of feeling, was it a lost opportunity? But was it a lost opportunity? Did we overvalue this team? Who knows? So I just keep going from stage to stage to stage right now. And all the things he said about Danny Green and Ben Simmons, and it all rings true. But it was majorly a lost opportunity this year. The stage was set. You had the Washington Wizards in the first round of the playoffs. You had the Atlanta Hawks in the second. The Bucks did what we needed and took the Nets out of the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard's hurt. The Lakers are out of the playoffs. This was our opportunity to hang a banner in the rafters. And we lost out on that opportunity. Why? If you want to put the blame on Ben Simmons, Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, whoever you want to put the blame on, if there's blame to go all around. Even Daryl Morey, if you want to put some blame on him, not pulling the trigger on a Kyle Lowry trade or making it work with the James Harden trade. There's so much blame to go around. Now it's going to come on to Daryl Morey and them to see what they've got to do to give us another one of these opportunities. Because you got to think next year the Hawks are going to be a better team. There's going to be trades going on and free agents galore. Players changing teams left and right. If Dame goes to the Knicks or something like that, so many different things are going to change. Will we have this opportunity? It's going to be on Daryl Morey to set that opportunity up again. But we lost a major, major opportunity this year.
Yeah, and just to kind of ride that coattail there. That was my biggest thing, the wasted opportunity. The Sixers, maybe they can get better than they were this year. Maybe they can pick up some pieces in the offseason. Maybe they do, maybe they don't flip Ben. Maybe Ben comes back and he's this offensive, maybe he's this offensive guy that, is just willing to drive the lane at least. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but even if Ben comes back and is this offensive genius, we've seen Ben have great offensive games in the regular season.
Yeah.
It's just like watching Vince Velasquez pitch. When will the wheels fall off? Ben Simmons, it's when will, when the playoffs hit, will he, stay aggressive Ben in the regular season or resort back to playoff Ben, which just teams figured out how to stop him in the 7-game series?
Yeah, and that's kind of the risk that we face. The risk of keeping Ben and him just doing the same thing over again, and then the risk of trading him and him figuring it out, right? Like, so that's kind of what we're looking at right now. But I do agree totally. I thought this was the biggest wasted opportunity. You saw my Twitter post. I called this one of the biggest what ifs in Philly sports history. You know, what if Danny Green stayed healthy? What if, they don't blow that 26-point lead in game, 5? So it does. It just blows my mind. I'm still indifferent about everything that I feel about this team. I don't know how I feel about them because I was so high on them. And then to see them just collapse, in the second round against an Atlanta team that quite honestly had they had no reason that they should have beat the Sixers, in my opinion. The Sixers were more talented. They were better in every facet. Besides Trae Young's scoring ability, they were better in every area that a team could be better, in my opinion. And when you look back and you are able to say that, then it's a disappointment. It's a failure. Like you said, Phil, you look around the league, the stars that were injured in the playoffs, the stars that have already been eliminated. This was the chance, man. You were looking at the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. You didn't even have to see the Nets. And it's just disheartening, and I don't know what they do next. JD, I'll toss it to you, my man. By the way, thanks for joining the show again, JD.
I was super late.
I know we're all down right now, man. But I kind of want to ask you the same thing. What was your takeaway from the regular season in comparison to that collapse in the playoffs there?
I don't think there was a difference. I think that we made it be a difference because we wanted it. Like, we secretly wanted to be a difference in the regular season, but we didn't see a big difference. We jumped out to a lead early to be at the first round. We played the games that we needed to play to win to get the number 1 seed, but we struggled at the end. Like, we all know what happened. Like, we struggled at the end to win games. We just so happened to win games at the end to stay in number 1 contention, but that wasn't really the telltale heart, so to speak. I think I'm always telling people not to jump off the ledge, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be an opportunity. It's just nobody would thought. Like, if you look at the beginning of the season, you would have looked at the teams that are supposed to favorite it to win the championship. None of those teams are there. Not one of those top 3 teams that are favored to win an NBA championship are there now. And it's now like the 6th or 7th. If you're a betting guy like Phil, this is a bad year for you, because if you went with the favorite, you're looking pretty crappy. And I think that maybe because there's so much talent spread around the NBA now, that might start being the situation. It's just who's playing well. I said at the beginning of the year that I thought Phoenix was really good because they had a lot of key pieces, and they had showed us a lot in the bubble last year, winning 8 games straight. They kept that going throughout the year, and they just kept it going. The Sixers, what they did not do in the regular season, and what they continue not to do in the postseason, is they didn't play to their own strengths. Even when they found something that worked for them, they would go away from it. The game 1, we watched them come back from 20-something down to make it a game and only lose by 4. And that's because they put defensive pressure on the guys. They went away from that. They didn't trap again, full court, the entire series. Even though they were down in multiple games, they still didn't do it. You didn't see them play to their strength, which is their defense. They concentrated on letting Joel Embiid shoot 10 to 12 footers for what? As a coach, that would burn me up. You're the biggest thing out there on the court. You just need to go down there and score. And that's been our indictment about Joel Embiid for years, but everybody's forgot about that because he had an MVP year. That doesn't matter, because in an MVP year, you stick to your guns and you make the baskets. We watched Tobias Harris miss layup after layup after layup in that closer. But nobody's talking about that. They're only talking about Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
What Ben Simmons didn't do. Okay, what about the 12 or 17 turnovers you have in that game? Like, nobody's talking about that. Ben Simmons only had 2 of those turnovers. So even if you want to indict him for not taking a layup, that layup didn't end up being any bad play. I mean, we missed a free throw because of it, but that wasn't his free throw to miss. You got to think about his mental state. Ben's mental state is fragile because of the situation. If they've been fouling you all series, and you know you can't make free throws, you know you're a liability. I think he knew he was a liability out there. To be honest with you, he probably shouldn't have been out there. If just kind of like how we always give the indictment on Carson Wentz, like, oh, well, they should have pulled him. Okay, cool. Well, you pull Ben Simmons, regardless if he's $100 million man or he's a $10 million man, you still got to pull him because that's your job as the coach. There's, like you said, there's plenty of blame to go around. There's not any one person who is exempt from blame about this, except for the young guys who try to come in and make a difference. Like, I'm not blaming Thibault for a foul on the 3-pointer because at the end of the day, he was cooking everybody. Herter cooked everybody.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I was telling my dad the other day, I was like, I'm not mad about the 3-point contest. I'm mad about him hitting him in the head, but at least he didn't make the 3-pointer. He had to go earn it. So there's a lot of different things. You know me, I'm always looking on the bright side of things. I just think that game was a terribly played game and a terribly coached game. And we're having a funeral today, but we kind of need to look at this and say, damn, well, at least they're in a better place now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, they were getting tore down. I'm not even gonna lie, man. Every day I would look at the Philadelphia Inquirer because I'm still old school. I read the newspaper. And it was just like question mark. Even after a win, it was question mark after question mark. Can they really do it? Are we that negative as a fan base where people are just like tearing us down even when we win? Even the day we had the post game, like we were finding things to say about Danny Green. Like, are we that bad of fans where we can't rejoice even in a win? And I think we are. I think we put so much pressure, the Philly fan base, we put so much pressure on our players that our players either A, they collapse completely, they don't want to play, they end up getting traded and play somewhere better, or they have a nervous breakdown. And it's happened 3 different times now. And if you want to count T.O., we can count T.O. as well. Like, look at it. Go back and look through Philly history because all these old heads want to bring up to me that I don't know Philly sports. Well, how about this? I got eyes. I know common. It's like I can read a damn book. And I know that every time a Philly player gets confident, somehow, some way, they end up not confident by the time they leave. So
before we dive into this, I am going to bring Don and Vance on the show. Get these guys involved here. We've had them in the backstage here for a minute.
Isn't it the whole time?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and introduce them, and we'll kind of cycle through. But I do want to get back to 1, Doc Rivers, and then 2, what you said, JD, is Philly just this mentally like exhausting place for athletes, and is that like a detractor? When players are looking for new places to go, new homes. We'll dive into that in a minute. I just want to introduce these guys here. So we got my man, Mr. Seaway Science, Don.
What's going on?
You guys know him. Hey, Vance, welcome to the show as well, my man. Before we dive in, we kind of were on the roll of just talking about how everybody's feeling after that Sixers loss in Game 7. I'll start with you, Don, if you want to just go ahead and plug your shows, what you got going on as far as your content creating, and then we'll kind of dive into some Sixers talk there.
Sure, yeah. I'm on so the podcast is Drunk on Broad. So we do our live show every Tuesday night at 8. It's me, Nick, Oscar, and Rich, and it's a lot of this. It's a lot of real authentic Philly, just sports talk, not a whole lot of statistics, not a whole lot of analytics, just a lot of conversation that kind of deals with whatever's going on in Philly sports. All of our stuff is on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you can find your podcast content. But never did I ever think I would be sitting here on Tuesday, June 22nd, having the Sixers funeral. Never did I ever. And I'm sitting there, and listen, I had a conversation with my brother on Father's Day, and he's like, "Yo, Don, I'm out. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't. Like," and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Yo," I'm like, "Tim, it's Game 7. Like, this is it. This is like everything you live for." And I had to text him after. I'm like, "Yo, dude, you were right. Like it was to me, it felt worse than the 1 bloody nil. It felt worse than the funeral at the vet losing to Tampa, because it was a slow burn. Like, you were watching this funeral for like a week, and you're watching them like let you down and pull you back in and let you down and pull you back in. And I just, for the life of me, I kept saying, like, I don't know if it's the eternal optimist in me saying, like, listen, you know, they are the better team. Like, they clearly they were the better team, but they got outplayed. They got outcoached. I know Ben Simmons has taken a ton of heat on this, but this was a team effort. They lost to the Hawks on every level. Doc got outcoached to the point where I'm even questioning, do we bring Doc back? You got outplayed. You know, as much as I want to say I hate Trae Young and I hate his game and how he's looking for the officials to help him out, he balled out. He outplayed whoever was guarding him. It was, and I can't for the life of me still wrap my head around the fact that I'm sitting here saying there's no more. Because and I was listening when you guys were talking, they wasted the best year that Embiid had so far. Wasted. And now you're stuck questioning, you know, I hesitate. I understand where people are if they want to if they're like, yo, I'm done with Ben. I get it. But I also can't throw him away for pennies on the dollar and say, like, I'm just going to get rid of him just to get rid of him. If you need a killer on this team. You need listen, I know you're not going to get Durant. I know, but you need Game 7 Durant playing 53 minutes. If anybody's looking at him coming out, he's go away. I mean,
even Giannis. I mean, Giannis did the same thing with the Bucks, man.
In that Game 7, the Bucks played 6 guys. I want the Nets played 7 guys. How do we have a Game 7 and we got 10 guys playing, and some of those bench guys got 20-something minutes?
And some of them were in the fourth quarter, man.
Shake Milton doesn't play the entire game, but starts the fourth quarter. How does it screams? It screams. I have no clue. It. As weird as it was, I literally felt like I was watching Brett Brown coach the Sixers in the bubble last year against the Celtics.
Yeah.
It was just no plan. No plan.
The reason I agree with that so much is because Joel Embiid started floating around the three-point line again, man. And I'm telling you, I went off on him about this last postseason. I cannot stand that shit. You are the most dominating presence in the NBA. And, you know, whether Embiid thinks about that or not, if I'm the head coach, I'm telling him. Same with Ben Simmons. I'm telling him. It's not a discussion about what we're doing on the court. We're not here to meet in the middle. You're doing what I'm saying as the coach, and that's the point of the coach. And so I'm going to go ahead and get Vance on here, let him introduce himself. Vance, if you want to come on, I see you're muted there. Go ahead, plug all the content that you got going on as well as your Twitter handle. I'm going to link everybody's content underneath the comments on Twitter after the show. But before we dive back into that conversation, Vance, let us know what you got going on and how you were feeling after that loss as well.
Yeah, so I'm Vance Crew, one quarter of the Flyer and Ice Pod on Heat Ratio Sports. You can follow us at Flyer and Ice Pod on Twitter. You can also follow me at Crew_Love0 on Twitter. Guys, I want to take a little bit of a different approach with this. The Sixers were the better team, but I'm going to ask you guys a question. When was the last time a team won playing bully ball?
The Pistons?
Right.
That late 90s playing against the Bulls, Robin, Mahorn team,
right.
Maybe.
Shaq and the Lakers, I guess, maybe was kind of bully ball.
Maybe.
Ben, the Pistons with Ben Wallace.
Yeah.
Right. So this whole thing was built around the Sixers' identity with playing bully ball with Joel Embiid in the post, Tobias Harris being, a stretch 4, and Ben Simmons being able to post smaller guards. The bottom line, guys, is it really doesn't work in this era of NBA basketball. It really doesn't work. If you look at the teams that are left, none of the teams play the brand of basketball that the Sixers are playing. I hate to talk about Ben Simmons, but here's the thing. The guy that has the ball in his hands, your point guard, either has to be able to score the basketball or shoot the basketball. It's as simple as that. You have to be able to do one or the other. Because the bottom line is this is not a big man's game anymore. It's a perimeter-oriented game. You look at the teams that are still playing in the playoffs. You look at the Suns. You look at the Clippers. You know, they have a ton of guys on the wing that are getting it done for them. And that's what the Sixers team is lacking. And, you know, I know we were just talking about Ben a minute ago. I really don't see a way where you bring him back here. If you bring him back here, he has to be your 4. He cannot be your point guard. There's no way in hell that you can come back with him and allow him to run your offense. It just doesn't work. And the thing about Embiid is great, but JD and Scotty, we talked about this before. I think I asked you guys the question a few months ago. Who would you rather give the ball to at the end of the game, Joel Embiid or Tobias Harris? And I asked you guys that question for a specific reason. It's because in this day and age in the NBA, the lineups are smaller. So when you go to Joel Embiid in the post at the end of a game, those double teams are coming a lot quicker than they did 20 years ago because you've got guards out on the floor. Whereas 20 years ago, you had, you know, 3 legit 3s, 4s, and 5s out there playing in the lineup. What the Sixers are trying to do, it just doesn't work. And I honestly believe that Daryl Morey understands that. If you look at the way he built his rosters in Houston around James Harden, he had a lot of 3-and-D guys and, you know, a legit shooter and star at guard that can get it done. And that's honestly what I think the Sixers have to do next. I think you can still win with Joel Embiid being your best player, but your point guard, the guy that has the ball in his hands, most of the time, that person either has to be able to shoot and score, and that's not Ben Simmons.
No, you're spot on. Like in watching even the games previously out west, it's all perimeter shooting. Everybody is standing at the 3-point line. If there's a fast break, it's not running to get to the hole. It's who can get to the 3-point line faster. And even some of those other teams like Denver had, you know, their whole game was built around that. Even though they had the MVP Jokic in the middle, their game is still built around the outside.
Right.
So.
Right. And to your point, Don, like we don't even have to go that far. We can talk about the Atlanta Hawks, right? Seriously. Look at who they brought off the bench. You know, they're coming off the bench with the Lou Williams. They moved Kevin Huerter in and out of the starting lineup, and he dropped 27 on us in Game 7. Their perimeter players were much better than the Sixers' perimeter players. Their bench was much better than the Sixers' bench. You know, along with Doc Rivers as coach, and that to me is really where the series was lost. They had a bench that came in and actually, you know, contributed. And our bench from night to night, you didn't really know, you know, what you were going to get. And most nights you really didn't get anything. So,
it comes down to also you talking about all these perimeter shooters. Can I ask you guys all a question? Did anybody think coming into this season that Seth Curry was going to be your best shooter on the team and your most, I mean, not consistent maybe is not the right word, but honestly, he was the only perimeter player that could get a consistent shot in the playoffs. I mean, in my mind, Curry played obviously out of his mind in the playoffs, but he's a 20 to 22 to 25 minute starter/role player on a team. You needed him to be your only guy. And when that's what it, you know, all comes down to, Seth Curry being your main offensive threat, you know you're in trouble in the playoffs. And that's what I keep coming back to. Seth Curry was kind of like Danny Green. He was supposed to be that starting role player, JJ Redick type, knock down a 3-point shot, but you basically had to run your offense through Curry. And that right there shows where having Ben Simmons as your point guard, like you said, Vance, it just can't happen in this day and age. You need somebody that's going to be a ball hawk to an extent and is going to get their shots, take their shots, and have the confidence to make their shots, even when it's not falling. Trae Young did not lose confidence once. When he was 5-19, 0 for whatever, he kept putting them up there because he knew he had confidence in his game that they were going to start falling. So Curry is a complimentary player, not the leader of a team. And that's what we were put to having him do, you know, in that Atlanta series. And, you know, can't have that.
And so I gotta throw this out there. Go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead. All right, mine's a quick one, so I'm just going to throw this in there. To the Ben point, I think that's what created clarity for me. Is like I think I had tunnel vision before. because now I'm thinking about kind of like what our commenter just said there. You know, imagine Trey with Embiid, or imagine Lillard with Embiid, or imagine this other point guard that can score with Embiid. And now that I'm really thinking about this, I'm even looking to Game 6, where, you know, Ben Simmons only played 25 minutes. Tyrese Maxey got 30 minutes, put up 16 points, and we win that game, even though Trae Young went off. But then in Game 7, Trae Young gets locked up, and we lose. That doesn't make sense to me, right? But go ahead, JD.
So, okay, so this is what I hate about when you go game to game. And this is like, I coach, I hate this part of it. This part wrecks my brain, because stopping Trey isn't enough if you let somebody pick up the slack. It's not enough. So the thing about it is, you saw I'm pretty sure if all 5 of us could line up the same game and we would do something completely different, all of us would. Yeah. But hindsight being 2020 is cool. It's just the only problem is you have Thibault, defensive specialist, on your team. In Game 1, you had to turn the defense to get back in the game. Why are you going away from defense being the cornerstone of your team just because? Like, it was a just because thing. Because if you know Thibault is a better defender, if you just said it, Ben Simmons being out there and not really contributing wasn't our demise. Our demise is that we let somebody else pick up the pieces in a game that we stopped Trey. You can play the best defense you want to play, but if somebody else picks up the pieces and they go to cook the next person, like Danny Green in Game 1, Trey cooked him. Like, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. So then the next game you put Ben on him. He has 17 and we win. But you go away from the one thing that has been our cornerstone all year. That's why I really hate putting it on so much of the players when you really look at everything together as a whole. There was no adjustments made when there needed to be adjustments made. Not one.
So, JD, I agree with you for the most part, but here's the thing, man. Like, adjustments or no adjustments, there's a lot of things that Doc didn't do that I think that he should have done. But your point guard, there's no way in hell that you're going to win a series where your point guard is playing 30-plus minutes and scoring 4 points a game. You look at it, if he gives you a season average, you win the series in about 5 games, right?
Right. I'm not arguing that. You got me on that one. You got me dead to rights. I'm not going to argue that point because Ben Simmons is dead as hell for that. Like, he should never have been in that position. But what I will say is, now that all this stuff is coming out, where people are saying, Doc is saying, well, we didn't have a chance to work with him. And this, that, and third. And I'm going to get somebody in here that's going to work with him. Okay, then that's fine. But if we can't get nothing but peanuts for that dude, then we need to be throwing all the resource at him to make him worth our while. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I know we love throwing people away because that's our favorite thing to do. Like, look at life. We just love throwing people away. Like, if I don't agree with you, I'm never talking to you again. Like, that's just how we rock. But if you're doing this with somebody you're paying millions of dollars to, somebody you've invested 4 years, he's 24 to 26 years old. Like, that dude still got a lot of ball to play. Never no major injuries. He's probably going to play a long time because of the way he does play. So, really, in all honesty, if we can salvage anything with Ben Simmons, don't y'all want to do that?
Yeah, hold on real quick. But hasn't he been working on his game every offseason? Like, why all of a sudden is this offseason going to change Ben Simmons? I mean, we've seen the videos. We've seen the Instagram posts. We've seen the videos of him at pickup games. He's been working on his game for 3 years now. I don't have any confidence if they tell me he's working on his game off season, that's going to change anything next year because practice is different than in-game. His in-game mentality shuts off and it's totally different.
So, Phil, I agree with you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Don. Go ahead.
No. You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, Phil, to your point, this confidence thing didn't just start in the playoffs. It didn't just start in the playoffs because here's the thing. You watch those videos of him in open gym, with LeBron and James Harden and Russell Westbrook and all those guys. He's running up and down the court, dunking, shooting threes, shooting 15-footers. But then he gets in the game and he doesn't do it. So this problem started long before the playoffs. To your point, Phil. And here's the thing, guys. Like, if you work a regular job, right? How long does your job wait for you to produce before they say, "Hey, listen, this just isn't working out"? They don't wait 4 years, right? Listen, the Sixers' history didn't start when Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey came, right? If you're Michael Rubin, if you're Josh Harris, and you're Joel Embiid, and you've been with this guy for the last 4 years, and you've seen him do the same thing 3 out of the 4 years that he's been here, how much more time are you going to give him? Like, let's be honest, this is a business. If you're not producing, you get moved on for someone else who's going to come in and produce, or someone who's a better fit for the position. That's really where I think we are with Ben, because I'm not under the assumption that if the Sixers move Ben, they can't be better off for it. Ben and the Sixers might actually be better off for him going somewhere else. The Sixers might be able to get a player that's a better fit for their team, and he might be able to go out Midwest or somewhere, in the South where there's not as much pressure and bring his game along slowly. But where this franchise is right now, time is of the essence, because how long is Joel Embiid going to hold up? We might be talking about a situation where, great, you could wait on Ben for another 3 years, and maybe Ben enters his prime in another 3 years, but then you're in a position where you don't have Joel Embiid, so you're right back at square one.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm kind of I'm riding the fence on this one, because I'm not ready to just give them away for peanuts, right? And just say get rid of them just to get rid of them. But I'm also open to say, like, okay, what can you get for him? Because if you can get somebody in return that is going to be a better fit for this roster and be able to run the offense and score and be that outside threat and be that killer, then I'm open for it. But like, I'm not dealing them to LA for Kuzma. Right. Like that's like, I'm not like, that's not a 1-for-1. What he gives you at status quo, what he gives you on offense and defense, to me, in my mind, whole package is still better than what Kuzma would give you. Kuzma is not a killer. Kuzma is 6-man coming off the bench, give you the scoring punch, but he's not a guy that you slot into that starting role. So like, I also think, like, Sky, what you were saying, he's young. Like, he's 24. He's still got a legit 10 to 12 years in this league. And so it's hard for me to say, because that, I feel like we're in that same spot that we were in a couple months ago with Wentz. Like I am not in the business of just trying to get rid of him just because it didn't work out and he had the worst postseason of his career.
But so you're not just giving him away for peanuts.
Right.
Obviously, you're just not going to trade him for a bench player.
Right.
But if we move him, you say Kuzma, and I put Kuzma in the Lakers. I did a tweet earlier this week, of some mid-level trades that could happen, because obviously Ben's value is down. So you're either going to have to take what you can get for him or wait till the trade deadline and see if he comes back a better player. But if you trade Ben Simmons for a mid-level player, say Kuzma, whoever it is out there, Rozier, I've seen his name. I've seen, Porzingis, there's so many names being floated around. There's 100 of them. I hate the NBA trade machines out there. But if you do trade Ben Simmons for a mid-level player, that means that's not the only deal Morey's making. There's going to be 2-3 other deals that happen to bring in a big-name point guard, whether it's trading Maxey or Tybal or picks, or you could see Ben and Tobias Harris get traded then in that scenario. So just trading Ben for something, if that happens, it kind of starts a refresh a little bit. But on the flip side, there's going to be other major moves happening after that domino falls.
I mean, just to spitball real quick, like I would be, and I don't know if the numbers work, but like
many numbers.
Yeah, no, like I have no idea. This is like just my brain saying, like, if you could move Harris and somehow pieces, whatever, bring in Beal, and now you have Ben and Beal and Embiid, and then you fit players around them. Like, I'm more open to that than I would be to say deal Ben and see what other moves you can get to move back.
Go ahead, Scott.
That's just me. Like,
I got Rich here waiting. I know he has a show after this, so I want to get.
I was
Rich
gonna say we're about to go on in a couple minutes.
Gotcha. Let me get Rich in here. Rich,
what's
up, my man? From Drunk
what's
Abroad. Hey, Rich, I know you guys got to go soon, so I'll go ahead. Man, if you want to plug your show, let everybody know what you got going on as well, my man.
It's terrible. Don't watch it. It's not good. It's not good. Just keep watching this. And then Phil's got his golf show. Just skip over. Just go past it.
Thanks.
So what I'm going to say is, great discussion. JD, Vance, Phil, Don, always good stuff, boys. Good stuff. Scotty, great stuff. I think Ben's right-handed, and I think Bleacher Report addressed that. So he's going to try to shoot with his right hand. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see that. I don't know what we're going to do when it comes to next season, but we can't keep playing 4 versus 5 or 4 versus 8 on offense. We can't do it. I'm sick of seeing my 6'10" generational point guard literally hide from the ball in the fourth quarter. It scares me. I dealt with this. I'm a big Ben guy, big Ben truther. I dealt with it for 4 seasons, and now I can't anymore. I'm not trading the guy for peanuts, as all you guys just said. But you have to see, like JD said, he's young. Throw the resources at him. If Doc never got the chance to work with him, get somebody in there. I mean, you got Herb McGee right around the corner. Get him in the gym shooting foul shots. Call Drew Hanlon, see if he can come help out. Get him away from his brother. Break him away from his family. Get him out of his comfort zone. Hold this guy accountable. It's time for him to be a grown-up. When you're going to be 25 years old and you're in the NBA for 5 years, it's time for you to be a grown-up. There's no more coddling. There's no more, hey, we're gonna let everybody else pick it up. Joel Embiid should not have 8 turnovers because he shouldn't be touching the ball that much or trying to run point. The point center position is not a thing. So let's leave that out of basketball.
Thank you for that, Rich.
I appreciate you guys. I got to run. That's all I had to say. Go Sixers. Scotty, thank you. Phil, Vance, JD, Don, I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Yep.
I love it.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks
Peace
for
out,
hopping on,
boys.
man. Much love to Drunk on Broad.
Gentlemen, thank you. This was incredible. I love your guys' content. So keep it up. And we'll be in touch. We'll try to collaborate on some stuff.
Of course, Don.
Take
Thank you
care.
for joining, Don. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good show.
You too.
Peace.
So you want me to hit this spot real quick?
All right, I got one more here for us, guys.
Okay, cool.
Let me see here. So we got Chip joining.
What's going on?
What's up, Chip? Finally get
What's
to
up?
face to face, my man. Talk to the Sixers, even if it's for a little bit. But welcome to the show, Chip. Now's the time, my man. Go ahead, plug your show in. Anything you got going on. As I told the other guys, I will also plug you guys' links throughout my comments on Twitter as well. So I'll make sure everybody has all the information they need to find you guys.
Sure. So I'm a part of the All About the Birds network with our boy Phil up here. So every Monday night we do a show called Chips and Dish, usually around 9:00, depending on schedules and things like that. But we talk about all things Philadelphia sports and beyond. I've even ventured into discussing golf one time. That was a very short-lived conversation because I knew about 4 minutes of golf talk.
And the boy that we talked about,
I know. Didn't he win?
US Open this week? So
Yes, he did. I was watching. I'm like, that's the COVID guy. I got it. But yeah, I mean, so it's and then we do Wednesday night shows. We have a lot of stuff going on our network. So All About the Birds. Check it out. Are we still talking about Tragic Johnson here? Is that what we're doing?
Is that his name now? Oh my God. Hey, we can talk about whatever you want. I do have a few questions to throw to you guys, but I'll let you go off first, Chip.
I mean, look, it's real simple. If you look at Ben Simmons' career numbers, at some point we have to realize that what we want him to be is not what he is. Right? Ben Simmons is not a 20-point per game point guard. You look at his entire career, his average is 13.5 points per game in the pros, and in the playoffs, each season his points per game go down from where he was to where he plays in the play. I know, tragic. That's he's not Magic Johnson. That's what it is. You look at his college numbers; his numbers go down every year. He is not an offensive scoring threat, and it's not even like he's a facilitator where it comes to like good passes. Like he's not passing it to Curry in the corner for Curry to get a spaced out three. He's handing the ball off. You saw somebody who was afraid to shoot the ball. That's what he was afraid to shoot the ball. You cannot, against a team in the NBA, in the college level, and you can't go 4 versus 5 and then have to pull him at game time. Like when it's time to really play and buckle down, he didn't dunk the ball, right? He went from, is Ben Simmons going to shoot a 3-pointer tonight to, is Ben Simmons going to look at the rim tonight? I mean, I'm from Pennsylvania. I know what a groundhog looks like. He's Punxsutawney Phil up in this bitch. Like that's what it is. He saw his shadow and he's out. So that's my thing. We got to stop telling Ben Simmons what he is and realize what he is and either accept it or move on from it. And I think what Rich just said was really important. Like, we got to stop saying, "Oh, it's okay that you don't want to shoot a three. It's okay that, dude, either do it or go." Like, you are a professional grown ass man getting paid way too goddamn much to play a game.
Yeah.
And, there's John Clark saying, "Oh, well, here's his pregame, right? He's practicing his jump shot. His 1 foot was glued to the damn ground. He lifted his leg like he was doing a Beachbody on Demand workout video and floating the ball up. Ben Simmons was an embarrassment this series. And he's not the only reason why we lost, but he's a pretty damn big one. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, just to kind of chime in on that, we did hit on that earlier, Chip. Kind of like and we'll talk about Doc Rivers a little bit here, but how don't you just get in Ben's face? We saw him be bullish about Ben all season, and it really came back to bite him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Honestly, he did not nip the shit in the butt, and it's the same stuff we saw with Brett Brown. That's what's like the most concerning for me.
And there it is.
But I want to toss this question to you guys. At this point, after that miserable, because that Atlanta series was miserable. I said it on the Game 7 night. Between the officiating of Trae Young and company, it was miserable as a fan of the Sixers to watch. Mm-hmm. And the officiating, and then also the disappointment of the team itself. It was completely miserable. But after that miserable series, who even holds more value right now, Tobias Harris or Ben Simmons? And I'll go ahead. I'll bring it around. I'll go Phil, and we can kind of go in that order: JD, Vance, and then Chip again. But Tobias Harris or Ben Simmons, who has more value right now?
I gotta say Ben. I mean, everybody knows I'm a Tobias Harris, fan. I've always stood up for Tobias Harris. I think he's got a great game. He knows what he is and all. But Ben Simmons, we've touched on it multiple times. He's 24 years old, going to be 25. His ceiling is still at this point higher than Tobias Harris is at his max. Maybe he shoots a few percentage points higher next year or in another year and all. But Ben Simmons still has that ultra high ceiling, hypothetically, in the right situation with the right coach holding him accountable. But at this moment, his value is down. So in the immediate future, you might get a little bit more for Tobias Harris, but big picture, AGM out there has to think Ben Simmons is better moving forward for my team, big picture, than Tobias Harris.
Yeah, and JD, I'll toss that same question to you, or if you had something to add in from the earlier combo as well, share your thoughts here.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but funny story is we tried to trade Ben Simmons' ass this year. That shit ain't work. So, and we tried to trade him for another superstar. That shit ain't work. So, I don't know if it didn't work because he didn't want to play in Philly. I don't know if the money wasn't right. I don't know if he just wanted to mess around with his homeboys in Brooklyn. But whatever it was, Harden didn't come here. And the other thing is Lowry didn't come here. And there's a lot of people didn't come here. A lot of the different packages that we want to do. Jimmy Butler didn't stay here. So we're looking at completely different situations. Like you guys are talking about, we're talking about Tobias Harris, or we're saying Ben Simmons. And to be honest with you, people last year didn't even want Tobias Harris on the damn team. So is Tobias Harris holding his value from last year? Because if that's the case, then yeah, he's the lower guy. He's gonna be the lower one because everybody wanted him gone last year. So I don't know. Like somebody put in there is equal value. Yes, equal value. What's half of nothing? My daddy, when I was growing up in the South, my daddy used to always ask me, he used to be like, JD, what's half of nothing? And I'd be like, shit, nothing. Yeah, nothing. It's always going to be nothing because we put value on these guys and we decide, when are we going to strap our boots? So we keep talking about this is the process. Well, when are these guys going to strap up? You got to coach. Let the damn dude coach. Like everybody wants to say he's not going because his job is on the line too. It's funny. It's crazy when people say, oh, the coach is the problem. Well, if the coach head not on the chopping block, of course he don't care. If one of the players get traded, great. I get rid of him. But when your head's on chopping block, you say, give me a year with him. Let me see what I can do with him. Do I think that Ben Simmons is going to come back and be a killer? Hell no. That's not going to happen. But like Chip said, you got to know your people. We got to know who he is. He's going to be a cheetah. He's always been a cheetah. He's never going to change his stripes and be a zebra. He's not going to happen. He's not a goat. He's none of that. But we have to figure out our identity, and that's just what it is. So if you want my value, they both nothing. Half of nothing is nothing.
Yeah, well, I'll say Tobias Harris doesn't have as much value as Ben Simmons. Tobias Harris has been traded how many times?
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 times.
This is 5th different team. So,
people around the league will probably tell you that contract, he's not worth the contract that they paid him. He's overpaid, right? With Ben Simmons, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? All it takes is, a couple GMs to say, look at him and say, that's the same 6'10" guy that I saw at LSU. And if I get him here, I think I can fix him. So, and he's only 24 with 4 years left on his contract at a decent price. So, yeah, I mean, clearly Ben Simmons to me has more trade value, but if he ends up staying here, guys, I'll go back to my original point. If he ends up staying here, that's fine, but he just can't be the point guard here. If anything, he's a point forward. You know what I mean? You put him. My idea for Ben coming into this season is that you would have 2 guards and you would use him the same way the Lakers use LeBron. You put him at the 3 and you just surround him with 2 guards that can shoot. And I think the Sixers, I think that's what they tried to do. And it really didn't work. So it goes back to, where do you hide Ben? You know what I mean? Because the bottom line is, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in the regular season, they're going to win 50 games every year because they're that talented. But when you get to the playoffs, and I always said, first round of the playoffs, the Sixers will always win because talent wins out in the first round, right? When you get to the second round of the playoffs, that's when gamesmanship and coaching starts. So you get to the second round of the playoffs, you can't hide anybody. So, that's the thing. And that's why I'm pro moving Ben on, because I'd rather have guys on the floor. I'd rather have guys that are some of all parts. Like, give me, even if it's CJ McCollum, for example, make CJ McCollum one of my guards. Start Matisse as your 3. Maybe you bring Steph Curry off the bench because maybe you need another defender out there. But you have to have spacing around Joel, and you have to have spacing from the other 4 guys, not 3. It has to be from everybody, including Ben. You have to be able to shoot a 15-footer in your 4th year at least. So, in my opinion, he has the value, and you bring him back here. You playing with fire with Ben. How many years are we going to? I keep asking, how many years are we going to do this with him? How many years are we going to watch a video of him in the summertime firing up threes and shooting 3-pointers, and then come back in here and act like the WB frog that doesn't sing in front of the crowd?
Yeah.
Vance, mention the fact that there's video editing. So we don't know if this dude is really cooking.
Yeah, they may not be going in.
Yeah, he may be missing a lot of shots.
Those videos might not even have been from the same years. They might have been from
yeah. What I want to just chime in there really quick on Vance's point. With Ben Simmons and just trying to figure out, what the hell to do with him. And, talking about trading him for peanuts, you look at this series, right? And I just look at guys like that were on Atlanta's squad, right? The guys that made the difference. Like, obviously Trae Young's the star, but there were guys that made the difference in the series. Like John Collins was more effective offensively in most aspects than Ben Simmons. And that's sad. And it's like what you said, Vance, just hit a 15-footer. John Collins keeps the defense honest just by shooting the ball. Every time he would shoot, I would say, that's a bad shot. I'll live with that. But he did knock some of them down at the end of the day. Or, he comes in the lane with a one-handed floater. And I'm like, I'll live with that over Trae Young. But he'll make it. Like, he's taking that shot. He's holding the defense accountable. And so then I even looked at Game 7. And I'm like, man, you would never pick Kevin Huerter over Ben Simmons. You would never do that. But Kevin Huerter was arguably more valuable in that series than Ben Simmons. Arguably.
Curry can't guard a cadaver.
I would even say arguably. That's
comes
definitively.
into the equation. but he was on the same level as Ben Simmons in that series, and that's ridiculous to me.
So
my wife kept asking, "Who's that 12-year-old going off?" Every time she don't watch much basketball, she's like, "Why is there a 12-year-old shooting threes over everybody out there?" I'm like, honestly,
But he knows his skill set at least. And
I think the thing that you guys are saying that's really important is you're saying, well, he's got to learn how to shoot a 15-footer. Absolutely. But the more important thing is he's got to be willing to try the 15-footer. He won't even try. It's one thing to be the fastest guy in the regular season and to dunk the ball and you're flashing this, and occasionally you get a 25-point game and we all lose our shit over it. But to be in the playoffs and completely be a ghost, it's unacceptable. It's not arguably that, as apparently his Atlanta teammates call him, Kayvon Herter when he's on like that, because that broke today. Yeah, Kayvon Herter was arguably, but he was more important to the team this series. When he got in foul trouble and came off the floor, they lost out on some of their shooting. When Ben Wallace, see, because that's how I view Ben Simmons. Like Ben Wallace and Andre Drummond. That's the most accurate thing I've said all night. He's no longer Ben Simmons. He's Ben Wallace. He's a great defender. He can't shoot. He can't shoot free throws, but he's a great defender. Ben Simmons has got to bulk up and learn how to play the 4 and the 5 because that's all he's ever going to be good for in the NBA. There you go. The Freudian slip got me to my point. Look, I'm so tired of us comparing, right? We even did it tonight. What we have to do is align Ben Simmons with 2 shooters like they did in LA with LeBron, right? How many times did we hear that Ben Simmons is so much like LeBron early in his career, right? Same skill set, ball handling, big man. Ben Simmons is not LeBron. Ben Simmons is not Magic Johnson. Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons right now, and probably never will be an NBA point guard. So you have a couple choices. You can either coach him aggressively and say, this is what we need from you. And if you can't do it, we have to move on. Or you got to keep patting him on the ass and telling him that his shit doesn't stink. The problem is that it's very obvious when national broadcasters realize it and they're calling him out. How did you not dunk that ball? How did you not dunk that ball? When Joel Embiid's sitting in that post-game press conference after being eliminated and saying, I thought it was a turning point when we were going to dunk the ball and then we didn't. And then they came down and they never got the lead again. Joel Embiid called him out on it. Like it's the cracks. It's no longer that the cracks are showing. It's that Ben Simmons was completely and fully exposed. Now, what do we do with it? Because we have invested so much time, effort, and money into this man.
Right.
What do we do?
Yeah. Guys, to be honest, where I'm at with the Sixers right now, I'm less inclined to want to fix Ben Simmons and more inclined to want to fix the Sixers.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the most important thing is. Like, how many resources are you going to continue to put into Ben when you can go out and get, maybe you can trade him for a player that's going to help you, for a guard that's going to help you, and go out and get 2 role players that will come in and help you and give you all the same elements, and 3 players that you get in Ben Simmons. You get a scorer, you go out and you get another 3-and-D guy, and you get another guy to come off your bench. That's another 3-and-D guy. Like, we have to stop looking at this thing as a Ben Simmons thing. Like, Ben Simmons is who he is. Like, I think the real answer is you got to rip off the Band-Aid and you have to reimagine this team and you have to build it around the perimeter, and Joel Embiid can still be your best player.
Yo, check this out. Vance, I'm gonna piggyback on something you said, and it's dope that you said this, is that we need to make it more about the Sixers. It's funny how you say that, because when you look back 3 years ago, when Embiid was fat and out of shape and couldn't get his shit together, everybody was like, oh, he's the worst thing I've ever seen. He was just out of shape. He was eating at McDonald's drive-thru every day, and they knew him by name. And not because they knew his face, but because he just was there every day. You had these epiphanies, and I know that Embiid is the one who delivers basically the knife stab in Ben's back, and it's very fitting because before they were saying Embiid can't get in shape, you know what I'm saying? So now it's kind of like Embiid saying, "Okay, bro, I'm skinny now. What's up?" You can't shoot, and if you're looking at it, if I've been getting coached by my brother for 5 years, I don't care what sport my brother played. I'm not going to be nowhere as good as if I got a guy that's down the street that's a shooting guru, and I'm not going to him. we need to start looking at what it is. Ben hasn't tried to get better. Ben has been chasing Kardashians, hitting Jenners, and whatever other supermodel,
Don't forget
model.
COD.
Oh yeah, whoever else he want to chase. He's been chasing these people, and because he's 24, remember what you was doing at 24? Because I can remember what I was doing at 24.
Thank God there's no social media back then.
Yeah, I was chasing skirts.
That's all I could say.
Yeah, I was chasing skirts, and I wasn't working on my game, and I wasn't doing none of that. So maybe, just maybe, if he actually worked at trying to shoot, he might be. Maybe if he shot with the right hand, like Chip said, maybe we can get him in shooting the ball with the right hand. It will work.
And
But
so, like,
JT.
my bad.
So I was going to say something. Go ahead, Scotty. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Scotty. Go ahead, Scotty.
I was just going to comment on the right-handed thing. Just the sound of that. I mean, that's a whole new project. Like, is that really where we want to go with that as well? Like, let him go do that in OKC or something. You know what I mean? Like, go figure it out.
No more projects, no more working. He's had the opportunity.
No more
to work on his game.
processes.
He's had the opportunity to work on his game, whether he has or not, whether they're just Instagram posts or real workouts. I'm done with it. His biggest issue isn't his game. It's up here. It's mental. It's all mental. Because if even the little bit of work that we see on Instagram and on Twitter of him working out, that should have been enough to change his game. If it wasn't all mentally, he's mentally weak as a person or as a player. And with the right left, anybody that told him to shoot left-handed, I could throw a football and a baseball when I was young pretty damn well with my right and left arm. And the first coach is like, yo, what the hell did you just throw that football with your left arm for? You're a right-hander. I don't care if you can throw it 20 yards with your left. Throw it with your damn right hand. You know, it's just the dumbest thing. Anybody that said it to him, I mean, they should never be allowed to coach a single person in any sport ever again.
So one thing that stands out to me about Ben Simmons actually has nothing to do with Ben Simmons. It actually has to do with the article about his father after they lost that playoff series to Boston in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking to him in the article, and he was basically saying that everybody, wants him to shoot, and he doesn't need to shoot. He'll develop a shot in time. Now, here it is. That's his father telling him. That's his father saying that, right? Here it is 4 years later, and he's still not shooting the basketball. Joel Embiid, his teammate, works out with Drew Hanlon every year, as well as Bradley Beal, as well as Jason Tatum, as well as the other guys. Ben Simmons is in California all the time. Why hasn't Ben Simmons worked out with Drew Hanlon? If he really wanted to get better.
The Jenners are there. That's why he's in California. He's chasing Booker around California, trying to find out where him and Jenner are.
But to Vance's point, the reason you don't go to Drew Hanlon is because he's gonna correct you. He's gonna hold you accountable. And I think that might have been what you were getting at, Vance.
Yeah.
He doesn't take to it. He doesn't even want to entertain somebody outside of his circle and somebody that's going to tell him no. Like
does that make you question Doc Rivers? Because this is all we talked about last year and the year before. Brett Brown not holding Ben accountable. Brett Brown had the relationship with his dad and stuff like that. So Doc Rivers obviously didn't hold him accountable this year as well. So that has to question Doc Rivers as a coach to an extent.
But go back even further, right? Go back even further, and you look at Ben Simmons. Show me where in his entire playing career, high school, middle school, college, show me where he was a jump shooter.
He was in high school. I saw somebody post something his stats from high school. He actually had like a 29% 3-point shot in high school.
Oh, well, there you go.
50 some shots at that. I forget what the high school is, like a high-end prep academy.
Right. So in high school, but then he goes to college. He plays one season. He's not a jump shooter in college. He gets drafted #1 overall. Right. So he learns that he doesn't have to be a jump shooter to be successful in the NBA or to at least get into the NBA. Then he discovers how fast he is and how he's in front of everybody. So he doesn't need to develop the shot. So it's not that he doesn't think he needs to shoot the ball. So we are all here saying he's got to work with this guy. He's got to work with that guy. Doc's got to get him here. Ben Simmons doesn't feel that he needs to be a jump shooter because nowhere in his career has he really had to be.
Yeah.
So why are we expecting Ben Simmons to change his entire playing style to fit what we want him to be? It's not going to happen. We've got to get rid of the guy, and he's got to get a fresh start somewhere else because in Philadelphia, we want Ben Simmons to be a jump shooter. Since he won't do that, he will never be accepted here.
Agreed. And to your point, Chip, and I'll toss this back to you guys, but if we get into next season and Ben Simmons is still on this team, and the first, let's say the first 2 games he comes out and he does the same old shit, right? Like a 5-point game, and then maybe he has a 15-point game the next night. It's not going to stop in Philly at this point, right? Like every single time he has a down game, they're going to be on his ass. Like it's going to happen. And I think we're just at that stage. It was like the same thing with Carson Wentz. It's just like these pages are turning. You know what I mean? The chapter is over. And the thing I want to toss back to you guys about this whole situation with Ben Simmons was that post-game press conference where he's saying, yeah, I got to really like improve on the offensive end. Bro, we've been saying that for years. It's like he had an epiphany. It like, I got to score. What have you been listening? I get he doesn't get on social media, he doesn't listen to national media, but there's got it. Like, doesn't one of your friends or one of your brothers, like my family members would come to me and be like, bro, like you kind of got to shoot the damn ball. Like he doesn't have these people. It's like, does he just have a bunch of fake people around him?
Yes, he surrounded himself with yes men.
My mom would look at me if I had 5 points after a basketball game. And like, obviously my mom's not over analytical about basketball, but my mom would look at me and be like, are you a fucking scrub? Like my mom would say that to me. Like, I'm not joking. She would say that. And so like, he doesn't have anything like that around him, to hold him accountable. I just don't get it. Like, it's like he had an epiphany after that game where, yeah, you cost us the series, bro. Like, obviously we've talked about this. He's not the only reason. But if Ben Simmons just plays half of his potential, then we win that series.
I got to get rolling here, but I'll end it with this. You say, if he comes back next year, Ben has to go. He does, because his value is low right now. We can all agree on that. But if he comes back and is still the same player, his value goes down so much more. And you're talking about peanuts now for him. You're not even going to get peanuts if he continues to go down in value. He may come back next year and be a better player, but odds are, a 1 year to 1 year, it's one thing, but 4 or 5 years in the league, that's not like a trend. That's reality. That's who he is. His offseason regime and what he does, that is who he is. Mm-hmm. So you need to move on from him now. As Van said, the betterment of the betterment of the Sixers, not the betterment of Ben Simmons. That's what we got to do.
Appreciate you, Phil. I know you
got to roll, get ready for the golf show. So
once again, I'll plug you up in the comments, my brother. Thank you for joining.
Hey, y'all have a good night.
You too.
And so, guys, I'll toss one more question to you guys. I do want to wrap it up here. Doc Rivers, where are we at with Doc Rivers now? In my mind, I'm like, okay, like he's not going to get fired. I don't think he'll get fired after one season. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But what's you guys' read on Doc Rivers? What would you do after what you saw in that playoff series and kind of what we saw throughout the season? Like, we thought it would stop in the playoffs, and it didn't. So what's your overall take on Doc Rivers? I'll start with you down there, Chip, since you kind of went last time. Chip, what's your feel on Doc Rivers? How are you reading him right now?
So I think part of the issue that Doc is, so again, like you said, he's not getting fired. He is I'm gonna call him a borderline Hall of Fame coach, right? Simply because he has a championship win.
He's like losing his case as he keeps coaching, though.
Exactly. Like if he had kind of stopped before he started blowing historic leads, he does have an NBA championship, but now he's on that like Brett Favre tail end where you're like, I don't know, he's kind of like shitting the bed at the end. He's not getting fired this year. The question is he going to be allowed to coach without the Brett Brown handcuffs? So part of the issue, and my point is this, Brett Brown had to coach us through the process. So it was always, all right, guys, we're going to try and win all these regular season games. If, we're going to try and get you to play, we're going to try. And then when it got time for Brett Brown to be the playoff coach, he had no fucking clue what to do. You do way too many years of that, because we did hold on to Brett Brown for, I'd say, about a year and a half too long. and Doc comes in, and Doc's got championship experience, playoff experience. He's got X, Y, and Z. He's coached all-star teams. He's been coach of the year. He's done all these things. But they said, you've got these players that need to be coached a certain way. That's not the Doc Rivers way. So it's real simple for me. Doc needs to sit down and go, are you going to let me do this my way? Or are you going to continue to have me do it the way you want me to coach these babies? Because if it's the baby's way, I got other places that want, I'm out. If you're going to let me do this my way to actually push us, keyword push, hold accountable, drive this team, then I think he can have success. But it really depends on what the vision of the franchise is. Do you want Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris to be happy, or do you want them to be champions?
Yeah. So if you want Doc Rivers to succeed here, you got to go to Minnesota and trade for Kevin Garnett, and you got to go to Seattle and trade for Ray Allen. Pretty much.
Time machine.
To be honest, I mean, that's really the only time. Doc has an impressive record, of course, but that's the only time he's won. We're going to be honest, he had 3 Hall of Famers on his team.
Right.
And Chip, to be honest, man, I think if you look at Doc's career, the guy that's blown all those leads, I think that's more who he really is, as opposed to won the championship. So, I think he has some good qualities, but I think he proved in this series, and I think he proved last year when he gave up a 21-point lead and a 19-point lead, respectively, 2 games in a row, that he's not a great in-game manager.
No.
He just isn't. So the only answer for this team is you surround Joel Embiid with as much talent as you can, and you surround Doc Rivers with as much talent as you can, and hope that that's enough. Because what I saw this series, I saw a coach that strategically got walked down by Nate McMillan, who got fired by the Pacers in the middle of
Yeah.
And by a lesser team. I mean, the Hawks, if we want to give them any advantage, they had a better bench than the Sixers, but they didn't have a better team. But, Doc strategically got out coached. And when, things were on the line, he didn't coach well. Like Phil said, or somebody said earlier, how do you come out in the first few minutes of the fourth quarter with Shake Milton coming off the bench cold? Like, who does that? I understand Steph Curry had 4 fouls, but if Steph Curry plays those 3 minutes at the beginning of the fourth quarter, is that a different game? It might be.
Might be.
You know what I mean? So, I don't, I'm more inclined to believe, I think Doc is a good coach, but very similar to Ben Simmons. You can't hide him in the playoffs.
Right. And Vance, I think when I say the Hall of Fame borderline, it's not because of coaching acumen. He's not Phil Jackson. He's not any of these coaches that straight up, I don't care which 13 players you give me, we will be successful. Yeah. He's successful based on his numbers alone. The fact that he is, I think now 10th on all-time wins. Again, regular season, but his wins. 10th all-time wins, NBA champion. He has all of the things that line up on a resume. But straight up game management, he's not a Hall of Fame coach. You are 100% right.
And so just to tag along with that question, if Sam Cassell, leaves in this offseason, he most likely will, he deserves a coaching spot. How confident, what does that leave you at with Doc?
We're dead.
Sam Cassell leaves.
You remember, have you ever seen a boat without a motor? The only way to move it is with manual power. And I don't know, for people who are young, young kids who millennials and whatnot, they don't really know that you need, you have to have 2 oars to move a boat without a motor. Yeah. And when you show me who you are, I have to believe you. Like Vance said, I just kind of got to. You keep showing me that you don't know how to do this shit, so I gotta eventually believe you. The reason that Doc is not going to be successful is because Doc doesn't have, like you said, a KG, a dog. And I'm going to say it like this, a South Carolina dog, because I love to say that shit. You got to have a South Carolina dog on your team that just get after it. Kevin Garnett willed that team. He willed that team. And he doesn't have anybody on the team as it's currently constructed that's a dog like that. There's only a couple dogs like that in the whole NBA. and one of them is in Portland, and we kind of need that dude. So if that means we gotta, squeeze blood from a turnip, then we need to go squeeze blood from a turnip. And that's just where I'm at, because that's the only thing that's gonna save Doc's job. Yeah. Period. Because Philly's only gonna get worse on you. It just doesn't get. It's only gonna get worse on you. So either one or two things happen. Doc quits and resigns and get that shit to Sam Cassell, who we really need, because we saw what Doc did. I mean, what Shake did with. I mean, what he did with Maxey. Yeah. He was in Maxey's ear the entire series.
The whole series. Because
Doc wanted to give up on Maxey. I don't know if y'all know that he was talking mad shit about Maxey. He was wanting to get rid of him, and we watched Maxey pull us up out of some shit. So, being honest, 100 this whole offseason, Maury might be needing to look at Sam Cassell, like, hey, how much they offering you? We gonna pay you more, and then we gonna push old Doc up out of there. We gonna say he got dementia and get him up out of there. And I'm cool with everything everybody's saying. Everybody's spot on. It's just we don't have a dog. We had one with Jimmy, and I think if Jimmy would have been here with Doc Rivers, I've said this a couple times, I think he stays, and then we can kind of build with that, and then we could get rid of Ben because you don't need him. So we gotta do something. Like I know I've been making like some weird like little comments about let's get blood from a turnip, but that's a Southern thing, and you can't really get blood from a turnip. But we need to find out how to do it, because we got to get rid of Ben off this money, or Tobias, or both of them, and we need to get Dame. Because I'll take Dame with Step, and I'll take Embiid, and we still got Thibault, and we still got the young Maxey kid. Like, we got a little something now. Don't sleep on us. We got a little something,
right? And the thing is, the more tape that comes on, like, we failed not only in the playoffs, but we failed on a national level. So if we come back, because Maury even said, like, oh, we got a solid core here. We're going to run it back next year. We got this, and this. I'm like, yeah, but you also got tape on all these guys. So you can have as successful as a regular season as you want and even get the number 1 seed again. But in the playoffs, the tape is out there on how to beat this team. So you have to You got to change it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We have now rolled out the same thing over and over, and we are saying, well, it's going to be better this time. The fuck it is. It's not going to be better until you change it. I'm sorry. I was heated last night. I know it's early. I know it's not after hours time. I'm dropping cuss words, and JD's keeping it clean with his turnips and his dogs, but I'm dropping F-bombs, and I can't. This team is killing me. It's killing me.
Funeral right now. Emotions are flying, and everything is acceptable here. I just want you guys to know that this is a group of comfort. So
it's a safe space.
It's a safe space, Katie. There we go. It's a sanctuary.
Ben Simmons would be welcome here because it's a safe space. We just encourage.
There's no jump shot happening here, so he's fine.
I just wanted to ride JD's coattail there with the whole Doc thing, because similar to Ben, I know I just said this about Ben. You know, he comes out and he has these inconsistent games to start next season if he's still in the squad. Same thing with Doc. The first time we see him unload a hockey shift bench unit, we're sick to our stomachs, because we're going to be like, here we go again. And you just got to hope that they just replenish the bench and make it fit right so that he can do that, because he's going to do that. He's done that with other teams. And, that was probably my biggest like criminal charge that I addressed to Doc. Like, you got to play your stars max minutes in the playoffs. I thought that, once you go down 3-2, or once you're tied 2-2 to the Atlanta Hawks, it's time to play the starters 40 plus minutes. You saw KD, who's over 30 years old. These guys are young guys on our team. And I know Embiid, like, maybe, he has a partial tear in his meniscus. You don't play him over 40 minutes. But Tobias and Ben, they had to be full goes. And the thing that I'm looking at with both of them is that either Doc isn't confident enough to have them in the game at all times, to where he feels that if I was looking at 2 of my 3 top stars, I would make it mandatory that they be in the game. But he felt that it wasn't that much of a drop-off, I feel like, that he was going to bring in other guys to just replenish these minutes because we wouldn't lose too much. That's sad. And so the final thing, and I'll let you guys get your final words in on the Sixers season after this, but Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons. So if you get rid of one, so let's say that Tobias Harris has the higher market, do you think that this team would be better if you get a guard for Tobias Harris, like a CJ McCollum, rather? Does that work for you guys? And I'm kind of talking to you, Vance, and you, Chip, because you guys definitely went the hardest on Ben here tonight. And don't get it twisted. Like, me and JD are on the same page as well. We're open to it. So, like, would you be okay with moving just Tobias, or is it like Ben is the culprit? Ben has to go, because like Tobias, he showed me this like deer in headlights look in the playoffs too that kind of just made me sick to my stomach. And kind of looking down on him as well, not as much as Ben. But how do you guys feel on that front?
So for me, we are lacking the Kobe Bryant killer mentality player, right? We don't have it. We don't got a Mamba on the squad. We just don't. Tobias Harris isn't a Mamba, so we got to stop trying to make him into one. Tobias Harris is a decent shooter, a good player, will get you your points per game. He'll be in the high teens, low 20s, and that's what he's going to give you. I'm cool with riding with Tobias Harris as long as you don't require him to be the primary scorer, the guy who has the ball with the game on the line, because that's not who he is. That goes back to my central point. You got to stop saying what you want these guys to be and look at what they are. Joel Embiid is not the guy with the game on the line. You saw how many missed free throws in fourth quarters when we needed him to hit free throws, and he's actually a damn good free throw shooter, but not when the game was on the line. So what you need to do is you got to, at this point, scrap heap Ben Simmons for something, because he's nothing that you need outside of defense. And look, Andre Drummond has played in this league because he's good at defense. Ben Wallace had a great career in the league because he was good at defense, right? And if that's what you want Ben Simmons to be, move him to the 4, have him eat the Joel Embiid pre-vegan diet, bulk him up, have him as your backup center, and call it a day. If you can get anything for Ben Simmons at this point, you need to do it, because his value is absolutely he's got no value. It was on a national scale. You wait a couple games into the regular season, see that he can still do it, see that he's improved. Hey, I need you to shoot 15 jump shots per game. Make 7 of them, and then we'll trade you because at least you shot them. Tobias Harris, you can roll with. Ben Simmons, you can't. It's time. It's time.
Yeah, Chip. I mean, I would have to agree with you, man. Like, here's the thing. Here's what it comes down to for me. In Game 7, did Tobias Harris miss some money? He missed some money. He did, but you know what? He took the damn shots. He took the shots. And here's the thing. Yeah. If I'm going to go down, if I'm going to move a guy, I'm not moving the guy that's at least willing to take the shot and miss it. I'm moving the guy that doesn't want any part of it. Ben didn't want any part of it. And that, to me, that is unforgivable. And I'll tell you why it's unforgivable. You know, I said it earlier. The Sixers' history didn't just start with this series. He wasn't quite as bad in that Toronto series, but a lot of the same things that happened in that Toronto series happened in this series on a much worse level. In this series, he was even more disengaged in this series than he was in that Toronto series. So that, to me, is unforgivable, because the way I see it is that your star player, the time is ticking. You know, either one or two things are going to happen in the next 3 years. Either Joel Embiid is not going to be the Joel Embiid that he is now, or Joel Embiid is going to look at Sixers management and say, hey, listen, I've been dealing with this guy for the last 5 years, and he won't take a shot. Get me out of here. You know what I mean? That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed next. So, you know, I with Ben, I think that we're at the point of no return with Ben. I think, as I said earlier, it's about the Sixers now, and it's not about Ben. You move him, you get pieces that fit on your roster around your all-star center, and pieces that will help you move your franchise forward. And here's the thing. The truth of the matter is, you might have to take a step back you might have to take 2 steps back to take 2 steps forward. You might have to for a year at this point. But the bottom line is, you have to do it, because Ben Simmons is not going to change. He is who he is. And we're just asking, like, if you're frustrated now, imagine us sitting here next year having the same conversation.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're headed towards if we keep him here. So he has to go, man. Like, there's no more. I don't feel bad for him. He's making $130 million. He got his money. He's clearly not putting in the work, or if he's putting in the work, it's not translating over to the court. In the real world, you get moved on out of your position.
Yeah.
If that's the case. And this is the NBA. As much as we talk about it as a game, the NBA is a business. It's a business. You're not doing your job, they move you out for somebody else that's going to do the job better. And that's where we are right now.
I think the other thing that you said about being disengaged is really important, because I think it was game 5 or 6, I forget which one, but you saw with Ben Simmons, and it was where Trae Young dribbled the ball over half court, was ready to call a timeout, right? And Ben Simmons commits one of the most stupid fouls I've ever seen, right? But the timeout gets called, the tech gets called, the foul gets rescinded. But that was going to be foul number 3 of the half and enough for him to sit down. It wasn't a good basketball play. Ben Simmons not only didn't want to take the shot, he didn't want to be on the court.
Yeah.
He didn't even want to be on the court. Yeah. So it's so far past for me, and Vance is exactly right with everything he said, but it's so far past being disengaged. He literally didn't give a shit. He wanted the exact. He didn't want the shot. He didn't want the ball. How many times did he come over half court and just hand the ball off? Hand the ball off. I mean, look, you're going to lose a quote elite defender, but please remember, Thibault finished in the top for defense. He's on the second team all defense when my man couldn't even crack the rotation, not even the starting rotation, the rotation at the beginning of the year. So you got another elite defender on the squad.
Who's willing to shoot?
Who's willing to shoot? I said on a couple post-game shows ago, and I forget, and I got some goofy looks because we were still in the series. I said, right now, if you have Thibault versus Ben Simmons, I'm taking Thibault for one reason. He's coachable.
He's going to shoot.
He's coachable. He's going to hear what you have to say and at least try to put it in play.
Yeah. Scotty, can I take this real quick? All right, man. I'm going to go ahead and eulogize these dudes real quick. All right. So they're in a better place now. That's it. Like, I mean, I know, like, I mean, I've been mad, I've been sad, I done went through all the stages of grief. I told my wife I was leaving her for a little bit. Like, I had enough, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, I've been through all the emotions this year. I've been happy, I've been jubilant, I've been telling people they ain't real fans. I've been fighting people I ain't want to fight, my homeboys. I've been going at them. I had people call me all kind of weird names. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point in the game, I have had enough of the Sixers for this year. They are in a better place, and that's gone fishing in the offseason. And during this offseason, they better soul search, because I promise you, although I live in Philly, I don't have to pull for these motherfuckers. And I'd be damned if I sit here with all this Philly shit that I buy every year and not like Vance. I'm not taking the damn jersey back. Somebody else gonna pay me for that. I'm gonna wait till they trade them and get all my money back from MasterCard. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna be completely honest about this thing. I've been real calm and collected and cool. But I promise you this: if they pull this same shit next year, Wells Fargo might not make it to be demolished. All right, I can't deal with this. I got people retweeting me, atting me, you know, saying stuff about my kids, saying I'm stupid. Hey, I'm done. That's all I'm saying. They better figure it out, because Philly is not going to stand for these guys playing like that. Philly's not built like that. Philly dudes are tough. They rough. Everybody that come from Philly, they got a Philly grit. That's why there's a name like that. That's a name. When you bring these dudes in, these powder puff cats from, you know, Canada or Australia or Vancouver or where the hell they from, Alice Palms, or where the hell you get these people from, bring in the cats from Philly. Go get Lowry. If that's what we really need to do, go get Lowry this offseason.
Yeah, what's up with that, JD? They love just, you know, not bringing in Philly guys like the Mikal Bridges. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
And then we watch them eat. And then we watch them eat off of our plate. Like, that's what's crazy to me.
Josh Hart. Like, there's a ton of guys that were out there available, and we do not make the moves for them to bring them home. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, I get not bringing in guys just because they're from here, but these are quality players that we watched be groomed in our backyard. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Scotty, when I found out we were doing this, I got ordained online, so I'm a natural preacher now at this point. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, bury these mofos because that's what they did to my confidence this time. I'm done.
I feel you. Chip, Vance, did you guys have any last words for the 2021 Sixers?
No. I'm done. No. What? No. We put more effort into this show. Scotty, you put more effort into getting people to join this show than the Sixers did in the last 2 games. So, nah, I'm good.
And I just want to ride that point because, I look back at some of these games, and I mentioned this on a previous show, but, guys like John Collins and the things that Clint Capella was saying, and, John Collins out there talking shit to the crowd, Bogdanovich putting his finger up to the crowd. That's embarrassing for us. And so, like, when I don't see, like, pride in the Sixers in themselves, it makes me embarrassed and it makes me disgusted. So, like, I just wanted to ride, what JD said, what Chip just said there, and just let you guys know, like, how embarrassing it was to be a Sixers fan that believed in this team. And that's where I'll let my point. Vance, if you have anything else to say, we'll kind of end the show here.
Yeah, man, I really don't have much. It was a disappointing season. And, I think it's the end of an era, man. Like, we talked about the process. It didn't work. Now it's time to play some new age basketball. Get some guards in here. Get some guys that can handle the ball and shoot the ball. And, surround your center with complementary players and give them the best chance to win and give the city a best chance to win. That's just pretty much where I'm at. And, in order to do that, Ben Simmons has to go.
Yeah. And I think that's a solid note, guys, to end on. Thank you all. Chip, of course, Vance, JD, content. You guys worked with me throughout the, interacted with me on Twitter, worked with me throughout the Sixers season this year. And I appreciate all you guys for all the content you put out. Like I said at the beginning, throughout the show, I will be plugging in each and everybody that was on the shows today, all of their links in the comments section of Twitter. So be sure to check the comments in Twitter, give all of these guys a follow, subscribe to all of their content. And, let's keep Philly great, right? We got to get on to the next sport, get on to the next team. That's how we do it. We keep moving. Keep it moving. And, thank you, Sixers. I will say thank you just for a great regular season. But that's not what we're in this for as fans. We're not in it for the regular season. When I'm boasting these guys up for the number 1 seed and they go and blow 3 home games in the second round. Disappointment is where I'll leave it at. Thank you, guys. And thank you to all the Sixers fans, all the listeners out there. I'm not ending the Scotty Talk show at all, nothing like that. It is the end of the Sixers season. I won't be covering them until the offseason of the NBA. I will continue the Scotty Talks NBA show on this Thursday. We'll get into the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference Finals. But guys, this is it for the Sixers season. Thank you guys for joining, and that's going to be it for me, guys. Peace.